Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. God, our Creator and Father of all, bless, guide, and sustain the work of all, especially those who are leaders and all who are public servants. Protect all who place themselves in danger when they're serving and protecting others. Inspire in us a vision for excellence in work, leisure, learning, and in the matters of the heart. Let justice flow like a river and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Olmer, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1.
Here.
Lee Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Ponsmeyer, Ward 3.
I am here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5.
Here.
Taff Wren, Ward 6.
Hail, hail. Gang is all here tonight. We have got first order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from September 21st. And council, you've had these well in advance and had an opportunity to review them. Now would be an opportunity to make any corrections or make any sort of motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And minutes are approved unanimously. We have got a public hearing, AZ 17-03. Mr. Menino, if you'll get us started with that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That is an annexation and a zoning. There have been no additions and changes since the first reading. This request is an approximately 20-acre tract located at the intersection of 411 and relocated Highway 20, where the applicant is seeking to expand for commercial and institutional uses. With that, Planning Commission did recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Menino at this point? Thank you, sir. I'll open up a public hearing relative to the zoning portion of AZ 17-03. Anybody wishing to step forward to speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing relative to the zoning portion of the request. I'll now open up a public hearing relative to the annexation portion of the request, AZ 17-03. And once again, anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I will close that public hearing and we'll turn it over to council to handle the annexation portion of case AZ 17-03.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And now for the zoning portion of the request, Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Menino, you've got the next two, if you'll describe both of these lien releases, and then we'll try to handle those in one motion, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you again, Mayor and Council. These two properties, 19 Oakdale Drive and 705 Rolling Springs Road, were part of the First Time Home Buyers Program, or CHIPS program. They have fulfilled their 5-year obligation and requesting to have the lien released off their property. With that, we do recommend your approval.
All right, thank you. This is for two different properties, 19 Oakdale Drive and 705 Rolling Springs Road. And if a motion would include reference to both those properties, I would appreciate it.
Offer the motion that has reference to these two properties where the chip program has been involved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion's carry unanimously. Mr. Riggs, you've got the next item, please, the APGA annual membership.
Yes, Mayor, this is our annual dues for membership in the American Public Gas Association. It's $8,184.12, and we recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Riggs on this item? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Gary. Mr. Reinhardt, you have the next item relative to our budget amendment.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this is a fiscal year 2017 budget amendment. As part of the annual close process, we have to go in and amend the budgets for the general fund, special revenue funds, and SPOS fund budgets. And this basically will bring us in compliance with the generally accepted accounting principles. And this is the first reading of this ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Nothing out of the ordinary with it?
No,
Just
sir.
typical annual
It
duties.
does bring it back into all the budgets that I've mentioned, back into zero-based budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Reinhardt on this budget amendment for FY 16-17? Thank you, Tom. We'll take that up for final consideration at our next meeting. Before Greg comes forward, I want to, that we do have 3 items to add to the agenda this evening. I'd like a motion to add all 3 of those items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All items added. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson, with the ones that are already on here. We'll get to the added one.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This first agenda item for Parks and Recreation Department, I brought before council in August of 17 of this past year an agreement and an appendix, a fee schedule for the sponsorship of our scoreboards at Dellinger Park, our new scoreboards at Dellinger Park. And we have the ones that were interested in it before I brought it out, I guess when they saw the fee schedule, they wasn't interested anymore. And so I have redone the appendix, the fee schedule, have reduced the cost from anywhere from between 58% to 44%, and I'm recommending City Council approve the new fee schedule.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or discussion on this item either from Mr. Anderson or amongst council?
Mayor, just a question. Greg, have you talked to some people that maybe this fee schedule will be something they're interested
Well,
in?
the Academy Sports, you know, that when we first gave the fee schedule, they came back with an alternative. Of course, you know, we couldn't accept that because council had already approved the agreement, and so this would fall in this with them. And hopefully, you know, we'll be able to get them back if they haven't already spent all their sponsorship money.
And these are annual fees, right?
No, well, these are, this is a
5-year deal, but
5-year deal.
So you paid this and you got it for 5 years?
Yes, you pay a percentage for the first year, and then the remaining of that fee for the second year, and then you have it for 5 years. Then you have first right to renew it for 5 more years.
It's very reasonable.
Any other discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Greg.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. This is a bid award for our Dellinger Park covered pavilions construction. We have also associated with this, we have a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant of $100,000 that will supplement the jail bond funds for this. Hagler Systems designed our new shelter, our new shelters, and we legally advertised the bids, and we received 8 bids back. And I am recommending the low bid from a Cartersville company, Elements of Construction, in the amount of $347,000 and $347,900. This is the we don't have a rendering of what he designed, but this is the layout. These shelters are, our existing shelters at the park are 24 foot wide by 48 feet in length. These shelters are 30 foot width and 52 foot in length, except our larger shelter, which is 30 foot in width and 82, 84 foot in length. But this is the layout of the shelters. The truss will be a heavy timber-like truss. It will be 2 2x6 truss mounted together and then wrapped in a cement fiber, and then it will have it'll have the steel plates at each joint. I've got two pictures that show similar to this. This is it'll have the stone columns with with an 8-inch post.
A little wet bar in there?
No, it won't have a wet bar. And then the next one, this just shows, well, this shows the grill. Our existing shelters have barbecue pits in them. We are going with a large grill that will be outside this. Our larger shelter will have 2 of these grills. And then I've got one more picture of a, oh, well, there was a third one. Anyway, there was another picture that had that showed the flat iron steel plates that connects the joints for the truss.
So they pouring new pads for those?
Yes, Cartersville Public Works has agreed to demolish our existing shelters, and we'll take them down to take all the concrete out. We'll take a minimum amount of trees out so we can get the extra width, and then they'll come back in, and they'll be built from ground up.
Great, fantastic. I'll just make a couple comments before I let anybody else say anything, but thank you for fine work in securing grant money, for finding grant money that we could use some of the bond money to match to kind of extend what we've spent. And then again, I think it's always worth pointing out, we've got Jim Hagler with the design, and we've got elements of Cartersville. We've got 2 local companies that are doing this. So it's I know it's important to people when we pass the bond issue. I know it's important to council to do local business when we can. And so this is a good example of us making the most of our money and using local businesses. So I want to thank you and applaud that.
Well, I can't take, that they were the best in low bid, so that, that automatically, in my book. And, I did meet with them. The bids were due last Thursday, and I met with them that Friday morning, and, just to make sure that they were bidding what they said they were, and, very, very professional, and I look forward to working with them.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Just a couple things. When we talked today, you mentioned that you're not going to take any reservations after October 23rd, so you can get demolished during the cool weather, and that they'll be done by May the 1st.
Yes, sir. That's the hope. We'll have in the agreement, or in the Mr. Lovell will create our agreement, but in the bid there was a date, either April 1st or April the 15th, and after that point they incur fines if they're not done. But we will start. Our plan is to have to be renting shelters again by May 1.
And then because you did get the grant, got a little bit of an overage there above the 347. We discussed that, and you mentioned that we're going to do sidewalks to tie all those together, because I've noticed when in functions down in there it's kind of muddy, so that would help get folks out.
That is correct. One of the things that we submitted with the grant is we will have ADA access from our parking area, and then we will be connecting each of our shelters with a sidewalk, and so that will hopefully eliminate some of the wet
Really
areas.
Great. Thanks.
Great, thank you. A motion is in order. If there's no other discussion, motion to approve.
I'm on second, but it's already.
Thank you very much. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, Greg.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The next agenda item, during some of our work on our projects, our geo bond projects, we were pouring concrete, and we exceeded the $5,000 limit from Wayne Davis Concrete. We have an invoice in the amount of $6,367.60 that I need council approval to pay that. And the second one was for gravel. We had removed during the construction of our concession stand and the work on our fields around 1, 2, and 3, we had trenched so much, so we had to remove the broken up pavement. So in doing that, then we had to come back in and put gravel back in preparation of when we'll be paving. And in doing that, our gravel exceeded our $5,000 limit, and that amount from Vocal Material is $5,021.92. I'm asking council to approve these 2 invoices.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to,
Your motion, my second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. And then you have the one added item, please, Greg.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. It's with great pleasure that I've spoken with Mr. Cooley, and he has submitted a name, Monique. I know her as Monique Strickland, but it's Monique Hall for a Recreation Advisory Board that will be taking one of our past advisory board members, Joey Hill. But Monique, actually she worked for Parks and Recreation Department several years ago in the office in the concession area. A fine young lady, and I would recommend her appointment to the advisory board.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Greg. Mr. Hosbrook, you've got the next couple, I believe.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yeah, the electric department is coming to you to ask for approval to buy a towable air compressor to replace the one that was purchased in 1994. Well, it's a 94 vintage, and it was an Army surplus unit at the time we purchased it. And we got it from the water department. They were gracious enough to pass it along to us, and the garage said they no longer are able to find parts to repair it, and they recommend we replace it. And so that's what we're asking to do. And we put it out for bids, and Action Rental in Cartersville was the low bidder at $19,900.66. And this is an item in our capital budget.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on.
This next item is the Itron meter and software maintenance and support agreement. It's an annual agreement we have to renew the software maintenance and support for our electronic metering system. And we use this metering system to remotely gather data for our larger customers in Cartersville. And this is a sole source provider because we chose the equipment years ago. We chose the equipment that we would use, and so we're basically married to Itron for this maintenance agreement. And we're asking, this is a budgeted item, and we're asking you to approve the invoice amount of $10,783.98 for the Itron software and support.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Don on this item? And if there are none, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Porter, you got two and an added one, so go right ahead.
Yes, Mayor. The first item I have is the security cabinets for the IT building. As you recall, we're building the new node building at the actually off of Irwin Street, and we need to finish up the interior and put security cabinets to protect our equipment. The cost of this is $10,282.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Just mention again that we're moving this out of Sinkholeville down there on Irvin Street. That's the reason for the need for it, and we're building it to pieces.
Very good. Any other discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, Dan.
Yes, Mayor. The next item is the internet service agreement. We currently get 400 megs of internet service with Appalachian Valley Fiber. Due to a recent agreement we had with Georgia Public Web for 1 gig service, Stephen Greer negotiated with Appalachian Valley to increase our megs to 1 gig at the same $2,500 a month. So it's not any increased cost. It increases service for us. It helps Stephen to manage the overall network. We are adding new customers. We added a couple more this week. So I recommend approval of this agreement at the same $2,500 a month we've been paying.
Okay. Any discussion?
3-year agreement.
Yes, sir.
3 years, Sam,
Yep.
at that price.
At that price, yes.
1
Great.
gig. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And then your added item, the truck repair.
Yes, Mayor. Recently, the garage has been working on one of our solid waste trucks and had to purchase some equipment from Peterbilt of Atlanta. The cost for that item was $6,456.16, and I recommend approval of this purchase of some front leaf springs and some other equipment.
I'm ready for a motion. I guess I forgot to tell you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Jones.
Good evening, everyone. First up will be the repair of our number 2 grit chamber. I think all of you have heard quite a bit about it. Essentially, this treatment train failed shortly after Irma came through. Now, it wasn't necessarily related to that. That's just when it happened. What's happened is it's a chain-driven bucket collector system, and the chain has simply worn itself out. There's a couple of pictures David has up here. you can kind of see what's wrong with that link. You have to tension this thing to keep it from skipping over the drive, and when you pull on this, it pulls the link apart. And that's just simply from where it has rubbed over the last 6 years. There's also a picture of the chain in the number 1 chamber. That chain is only 1 year younger than the one you see there, and you can see a considerable difference in the wear. That is why we're asking to sole source to the same vendor as the chain you see here, because this chain seems to be holding up remarkably well compared to the other one. That vendor is WSG Solutions, and they have asked for $15,660 for 123 feet of this chain. That is enough to repair completely the number 2 chamber. So would ask for your approval of that. In addition to this, there is a chain guide that goes in the bottom that keeps the chain from coming off track. That guide is completely worn out as well, and we have asked Southern Machine and Fabrication, who has done this work before, to provide us a quote to replace that guide with a stainless steel product, with a 304 stainless. We did that in the number 1 chamber, and it's held up much better. Their cost for doing that is $12,975. That would bring the total for the repair to $28,635, and would ask for your approval for those 2 vendors.
Okay. We have 2 grit chambers? How many?
We do.
Okay, so.
Yes, we're
If there were 2,
required.
if there were 4, I was getting.
We're required by law to have 100% redundancy.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
How long does it take to get that in?
You know, if it were sitting there ready to go tomorrow morning, you're probably talking about a week.
I just wondered because, you know, Nate's coming. Nate's not as bad as Irma, but that's going to be some water. Is that going to cause you problems?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a simple answer.
We don't want to know the details, just take care of it, Bob.
I wish we could.
Just handle it.
I wish we could do it faster.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right, any other discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Bob.
Next up is a filter backwash design. Wiedemann and Singleton, I think you're familiar with them for various projects up there. They've done filter rehab. They're doing the pump project, the pump building stabilization project. They are sort of our engineer of choice for the water treatment plant. During the course of doing some capital budgeting and doing some planning for the plant, we discovered that the wash water tank is in pretty poor shape, specifically the dome of the tank, the lid of the tank. We had that inspected both inside and out in August of this year and found some significant issues with it. David's got a couple pictures up here. You can see the pretty significant cracking about 6 feet off the edge of the tank on those 2 left-hand pictures. There's some more in there. They all kind of run together, but you can see there's a significant issue with the dome of that tank. Inside, the bottom of the dome is delaminating. There's a pile of concrete on the inside of the tank. The issue here is this tank is the sole source of water for backwashing filters. Filters have to be backwashed every 200 hours, give or take. And the repair of this tank will involve cutting the top off and then forming and repouring a new dome on the tank. That's going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 months, roughly. So we can't operate without that tank for that period of time. That necessitates the design of an alternate backwashing system, which is what's before you tonight, would be the design of that system. And Wiedemann and Singleton's given us a cost of $20,672, and that would carry us from design through construction. So that would be a completed project from an engineering standpoint. Would ask your approval, and also would ask your approval of this as a change order to the currently open number 2 high service building stabilization contract. This will just be a little tack on to that contract, and they can work that in with that project as well.
Okay.
So you're reducing pressure from the high pressure pump so you don't blow the lid off that thing?
Yes, basically what we're going to do is backwash is a very low pressure process. what we're gonna do is take the 90 some odd pounds of pressure that we pump out and reduce it to somewhere around 30 PSI through a pressure reducing valve. The issue with the pressure reducing valve is the valve can fail, whereas a tank with an elevated water, gravity is pretty constant.
Undefeated.
Yes, it's undefeated, that's right. So it gives us that safety factor. So we would like to proceed with repairing the tank. So this is, while you can think of this as a spare tire. You can run on it for a little while, but I don't think you want to try to get 20 or 30,000 miles out of it.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. City of Cartersville continues to participate in the community rating system, which allows our property owners to qualify for a reduced flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. It's time for an annual renewal, and so we're requesting that the mayor's signature to authorize this recertification application for this ongoing program.
Questions, comments, or motions?
What's our rating now?
Our rating is a 7.
Is that pretty good?
That is very good. Actually, there's only a few other communities in the state where it's higher than that, but it's actually just, we have these requirements already, and so what we have to do is we have to send a few extra letters out. We have to document a few more items when people come in and ask questions about insurance and that type of thing. We just have to document that. And because we do that, we qualify for a 7. So, and we got upgraded last year.
Does that reduce the cost of flood insurance?
It does. It's not drastic, but it does reduce. If you're in the special flood hazard area, you do get a reduction of 15%, and 5% if you're outside of it and desire to purchase it.
Very good. All right. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Wade. Our final item of the evening, we'll save the best for last. Meredith?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm presenting a resolution agreement between the city and county so that the county can continue holding our elections for us. The cost is going to be $9,146. This has been reviewed by city attorney. It's recommended for approval, and this is a budgeted item.
Any discussion? Not, chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? Mr. Anderson?
The name?
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. I've given the Mayor and Council their invitations, but 2 weeks from today, Thursday, October the 19th at 4:30, we will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony and dedication for the Dillinger Park, the new buildings, and the Chamber of Commerce is also instrumental in this, and I would just like to invite everybody out at that time to see their new buildings.
Fantastic. Thank you. And if you would, for our clerk, your name and your address, please.
We'll do that. Joe Bolduc, 14 Allison Circle. A couple things. One, my neighbors and I are curious about the status of the gas company project over there. We haven't seen or heard anything, so we're kind of curious. Originally, you guys were talking August, I think. And right now, we still have a nice little mowed field. We like it that way.
Yeah.
We're not
We
complaining.
mowed it this week, as a matter of fact.
I'm sorry?
It was mowed this week?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
So we were curious if there was any information on when that project may begin.
Gary or Dan, whoever wants to handle that.
I'm sure give you an update at this point in time. We're still waiting on the architect to finish the plans. We actually are about 70% done with the plan design, and we anticipate going out to bid for local, trying to get local subcontractors to start doing site work either towards the end of this month or first part of November. We actually have ordered the pre-engineered metal building. It takes about 8 weeks to get that inked, 12 weeks in. And so we really won't start erecting any building or putting pads down probably till December or early January, I would anticipate.
Okay.
You still see some site work probably in the next couple, the end of this month or first part of November.
If you leave him an email address, he could probably send that.
I'm sorry?
He could probably send you what he just told you in an email if you leave him an address.
Yeah, I can do that, but that's fine. I just need to
Perfect.
relay this to the neighbors who are curious.
Sure.
And we had one other issue.
Sure.
We have trucks coming down Old Mill Road that apparently don't have real brakes. They use their engine brakes all the time. Is there anything that can be done about that? I mean, some of these vehicles going down there, it's horrendous. I mean, you will be in your house and you can hear these things. It sounds like shotguns going off out there, you know, machine guns just coming down that hill. It's terrible. I noticed there's a couple companies with trailer dumps who apparently they don't want their guys using the brakes to save money, so they use the engine brake all the way down the hill. I don't know if there's anything to be done. I noticed a sign over here on Maine or whatever going out of town. I saw that the other day. I went, ooh, we need one of those. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done in regards to that. Wade, can you look into that for me?
We can look into that.
That'd be great. Then that's it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Any other business that needs to come before council? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn. Stay gold.
That's, yeah,
Did not
that's-
get a room.